Oh boy, how the turntables, am I right? No, in all seriousness, wow, is I'm just well, I'm not amazed because I kind of figured, but it's interesting to see how things are kind of turning against Rings of Power after they've spent so much time trying to convince us that this show was absolute success. And even Screen Rant, which even Screen Rant wrote an article, but amazingly, for something that was huge news, it's not on their first page. So it's kind of buried somewhere. So that means I'm going to have to go searching for it. But I'm bringing up Screen Rant in particular because I actually had a video from a video that I had done yesterday that was supposed to go up, but I'm glad it didn't go up because then I saw this and I thought I have to forget the whole video that I had before and I have to work on this because this is glorious. It is absolutely glorious. So in the US, only 37% of viewers actually finished season 1 of Rings of Power. I refuse to associate it with Lord of the Rings because let's be honest, it is not part of Lord of the Rings. It is something completely made up. And yeah, I'm, like I said, not shocked because part of the reason that I don't necessarily like the streaming world is these companies can lie about their numbers. So I'm glad that there are more independent reports and things like that that are doing more research into what's actually going on because I know for a fact there's no way that a show dropped off the dropped off the charts at its ending and got no look whatsoever for award season. And I trust me, the one thing I don't care about is award season. But if you couldn't even get the rest of Hollywood to fillet your story, then yeah, you kind of had a bad story. So as you can see, only 37% of viewers who started Rings of Power actually watched all 8 episodes. And this is a report. This is a report according to the Hollywood Reporter. So it apparently comes from inside the organization, but of course it's the standard sources from inside. So it's kind of hard to know. But I thought Rings of Power was such a success. I like I said, I went through Screen Rant. I went through Screen Rant. And even the articles that were being critical of Rings of Power still weren't really being critical of Rings of Power. The problems that they had with Rings of Power were really kind of mild because they didn't seem to care about the breaking of the lore and they didn't care about the bad characterization of Galadriel in it because as far as they were concerned, well, you know adaptations do what adaptations do, but not only that, but because the movie she had that moment, and so you know obviously she had a dark history, even though there's nothing in anything that there's nothing that Tolkien wrote that would even say that she had that kind of history. But sure, whatever. You know, bad fan fiction is going to be bad fan fiction. Oh, look, see, right, 18 hours ago. So here it is. But the article I was talking about, um, yeah, the article I was talking about, where they were having a kind of mild take, was this one where it was Finrod. So we're complaining about Finrod because Finrod is considered morally good, and so the line that he said, which was stupid, and I know they thought it was intelligent, but it was a thoroughly stupid line. But that stupid line that he said, we're supposed to kind of have a problem with that, not the fact that they broke his character completely, you know, and not like yeah, I'll keep harping on that. ignore the significant problems of Lord of the Rings, ignore the lore breaking. It was good for the story, according to Screen Rant. But now we're having to acknowledge that, you know, nobody really watched it. So it's hard for me to take places like Screen Rant seriously when the thing you keep telling me is a success. The thing you keep telling me there's hype for season two. The thing you keep trying to tell me that everyone loved it. I mean, I've seen so many articles trying to convince me that no one knew who Sauron was. So the mystery box actually worked. You know, like there's an article on Screen Rant about that the mystery box worked, but in their opinion, you should probably, right, this one. You should probably drop the mystery box. Like that's their suggestion. It was successful. It was successful. Season 1. Nobody knew who Sauron was, but you should probably leave it behind for season 2. But let's be honest, they're not going to leave it behind for season 2 because we still haven't figured out where is Celeborn. Where's Celeborn? Where's Celebrian? What happened to Galadriel's family? I still I actually still want to know because like I mean, okay. Yes, I'm being a little facetious because I know what happened to them because I can read Tolkien's actual story and know what happened. But, you know, for them, for this story, for this abysmal story that Rings of Power is trying to tell, the showrunners, and I forget their names because they literally are not that important to me. So, yes, JD Payne and Patrick McKay, for this story that they're trying to sell, this story that, they keep saying is positive. It is a great story. You need to put this story on the shelf with Tolkien's actual work because they are adding on to his story and they are doing the thing. Like you listen to them, they are masters of the storytelling craft. And yet here we are. And yet here we are. So, you know, if we're looking at it because it's the point of because I know that you had the situation with Netflix where they had the Resident Evil series that they were trying to do, and that got canceled after the first season because the viewership was abysmal. Now, Amazon committed to 5 seasons, and I'm pretty sure part of the reason they're pushing that this is a success so hard is because they're trying to, because they're trying to get through the 5 seasons of the story that they need to tell. But the problem that they're going to have is that the story they're trying to tell is a boring story, and it's not a Tolkien story, and it essentially is. You know, it's not it's not just not a Tolkien story. It's not a good story, and so like I said, I did a video yesterday, talking about, Screen Rant and the articles that they wrote and this hard push that they were doing for, the idea that Rings of Power is successful. And, I told myself, well, maybe I will watch season 1 for this channel because it'd be the only reason that I would do it. And maybe I'll look at it from, a storytelling perspective and see, can can they convince me that this is a good story? I highly doubt it. But, can they convince me that it's an actual good story? Now I'm just feeling like gloating because obviously it's not a good story because you didn't get anybody watching. Barely anybody finished. So yeah, I still might do my take on season 1, and certainly depending on what happens and whatnot with this channel, I might even go to season 2 when it happens. But like I said, the only way it's going to happen is if I use it to do content for my channel because as a viewer, yeah, there's no way I would ever watch this show. They 30%, 37% didn't get past a certain point. yeah, I guarantee I would not get past the beginning. That's just me. So yeah. What is interesting though is 45% actually made it through overseas of uh of Rings of Power. So that's interesting, but it's still less than 50. And looking at this, you know, and of course, according to insiders, obviously, but for Amazon, they're looking at a 50% completion rate as being passable for an original. And I can see that because you would need to be able to have an audience that you can maintain. Like you would need to have an audience that you can maintain. Now the problem that is always going to happen with Hollywood right now and anything having to do with Hollywood, so that's all these big corporations that want to be competitive. The biggest problem that they're going to have is that they want to cater to a specific audience that really isn't interested in the products that they're selling. They want to push a much more progressive, a much more leftist type of agenda. Like they really are pushing for that. So they're pushing for not good storytelling because the average person, is not looking at things from a political standpoint. Like I look to my mother, who right now is watching anime, and she never even really likes anime, but right now she's just looking for something that she feels like she could just be entertained by and kind of turn her brain off. So, that is your average viewer. They just want to see a good story. And so, yeah, here we are, with this largely Hollywood, you know, filming that wants to concentrate on things that people just don't care about. And they want to demand that people care about it. And they want to then name call you if you don't care about it and call you evil and do sort of all these things that are, you know, that hurt them because it does hurt them. It hurts their bottom line. And I would like to see, because you have to do 5 seasons. I would have loved to have seen them just scrap the first season completely and start over with a very good story. But I mean, these people these people believe that they're actually telling a good story. Therefore, you know, you'd have to do an intervention first, and you'd have to actually get them to admit and acknowledge that they're not doing a good story. So yeah, that still wouldn't happen. But would have been nice. It would have been nice if we could have actually gotten a good story. Instead, we have this drivel, and yeah, I really feel sorry for it. I really feel sorry for it because you know, reading Tolkien's work, there's so much there to work with, and there's so many great stories and great battles and great, like there's great material there to make wonderful stories based on Middle Earth. And instead, they just wanted to do their own thing, and it came off like bad romantic fan fiction. And that's all I have to say about that. If you like, if you watched this far, as always, thank you for listening and watching. And of course, do all the things that YouTube wants you to do for engagement. I appreciate anything. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Bye.